We will discuss, kind of what's been leading up to this, why it's happening, and what you guys can and should do to fall in line with what their requirements are. So, TruPlace, a little bit about us before we get started. Established in 2003 as a interactive floor plan tour provider. So taking technology and drawing floor plans and then having photos instantly appear as you hover your mouse over the floor plan is the primary product that TruPlace provides. So having shot over 5.3 million photos and over 47,000 tours created, we feel that we are the leading, industry-leading experts in regards to photography in the vacation rental space and the interactive floor plan tours. So let's talk a little bit real quick about digital photography trends. And, DSLR, which is a digital single lens reflex, they're getting smaller, faster, and of course with better and smaller lenses. So some without mirrors, and they're getting smarter and easier to use. So the technology with cameras obviously is fastly advancing. So one of the things we want to talk about with you guys in regards to photography is HDR, and I'm sure most of you have heard about HDR. But here's how it works. So there's 3 images captured. The first one is normal exposure, and this is what you get with most point-and-shoot cameras or with a single shot with an SLR camera. It's not bad, but the inside of the room is darker because of the light coming in through the window. So that's the first photo or image that's taken. And then in the second image that's captured, the camera exposure is stopped down just a bit, so that darkens things up considerably, and it makes the outside look great, right? And then the third image that's captured, the exposure is opened up from the normal to allow the inside of the room to be lighter and allows us to see the dark areas of the photo. However, it causes the light in the windows to balloon, and I'll bet you've seen a lot of these, right, where it looks pretty good on the inside, but the outside is almost non-existent. So what happens with this then is that the smart cameras, today's smart cameras will combine those images to create a composite of the 3. So it takes the normal, the dark, the light, and puts them together. And here at TruPlace, we take it a step further, and we provide a true HDR processing. So here is your normal HDR photograph here, which looks good. Then when we process it with our true HDR proprietary software and processing program, this is what happens. And, it's just a phenomenal looking photo. So while HDR is not bad, true HDR is just a little bit better. We like to think so. And then here's the side-by-side comparison of the 2. So obviously the one on the left is your normal HDR, and then the true HDR photo is on the right. So pretty obvious to see the differences there. So digital software allows us to enhance photos. For example, like we can add a blue sky to a photo when it was not originally there. So no more waiting for those perfect days to take photos. Even if it's cloudy and gray outside, we can enhance the photo to give a blue sky, and this provides obviously significant time savings for photographers and for clients who don't have to wait for the clouds to go away to make a property and photo shoot look good. Every property looks better with a blue sky, and when properties look better, they rent faster. So good photos. So then it used to be that 800 by 600 was pretty much the default standard for websites as far as photography size goes. So now if you've been tracking your Google Analytics, people are using larger and larger screens with more and more dots per inch of resolution. And as screens get larger and resolution increases, we see more and more details of the photograph, both good and bad. Apple's Retina screen technology is a good example. It captures amazing details, and thanks to technology such like Google Chromecast, Apple TV, Roku, and others, people can now sit on their couches and look at the photos on their giant flat screen, high resolution TVs. But if your photos aren't of high quality, they will not look good on these larger screens and high resolution displays. So something to think about there as well when it comes to your photography. So let's talk a little bit more about photo resolution. It's partly a function of how many pixels your camera has. And I know some of you have in-house photographers, some of you guys hire professional photographers, some of you use friends and family that dabble in photography as a hobby. But obviously, having the right camera and knowing how to set the settings correctly, the more pixels and the more detail is captured by the camera. But even with the camera that has a gazillion pixels, if you don't have the settings right, you're still going to end up with an image that isn't high quality. So you have to be sure your settings are set to minimize the compression of a photo, which will translate to a better image quality overall. Okay? So let's move on here then and talk just a little bit more about this photo resolution. So you can see here clearly the photo on the left does not look good. It's got a blurred edge to it, and obviously what happened here is someone took a smaller, lower res photo and stretched it to make it appear as a larger photo, but you can see the distortion that happens when you do that. So, and then the one on the right is the true HDR photo that is high resolution that didn't need to be enlarged to fit into this slide. So, in fact, it had to be reduced. If the two photos look the same to you, you might want to make an appointment with your optometrist to get your eyes checked. But obviously, it's pretty clear to see, and I'm sure most of you have seen examples of this for yourselves. Bear with me 1 second here. Okay, so now these new photo requirements. I'm sure many of you have already, been made aware of this. HomeAway's minimum, Booking.com, Airbnb, Expedia, and TripAdvisor. They're all the recommended. But now HomeAway and Booking.com actually have minimums as well as Airbnb. And the fact that the cameras have the higher resolution capability and screens are getting larger has not gone unnoticed, by these distribution channels. So they know that from their analytics of their own distribution sites, they know for a fact that the time people spend visiting those distribution sites when they're looking at units on their site, 50% of their time is spent looking at pictures. So they know, and photos. So they know that photos are selling, and therefore that's why they're starting to require these higher minimum requirements. So obviously, it's their primary visual tool that they use to decide, a guest does, whether or not to stay at a property. So the bigger and the better the photograph, the bigger and the better your chances of renting out that particular property. Okay. So let's look at this slide. And some of you may have seen this, and some may have not, but we don't want to, to have this happen to you guys. This is from HomeAway. And you can see clearly that there is now a notice that says, please replace the low resolution photos with ones at least 1920 by 1080 pixels. Okay, so obviously they're taking steps now to enforce that, and it's our belief that the content ranking and content score on that distribution site is going to be affected, meaning that if you don't have these higher minimum resolution photos, there's a chance that unit and property may not ever be seen by someone because it's pushed down so far. So the content score is used to determine how effective your site will be with the viewers. And here's what. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped too fast. But sorry guys. But we want you to see this here. So this is something that Booking.com has to say about content score. 50% of the content score is wrapped around high-quality photos, with about another 30% in photo tagging and another 20% in room details. So those three things combined make up your content score on their listing site. So it's important that you guys pay attention to this and obviously do everything that you can to ensure that you're using the high-quality photos, your photo tagging, and you're adding room details as well. So now the big question. So those of you that are listening that are TruPlace clients should know that all of our photos taken within the last several years already exceed the minimum requirements. that we've been discussing, so you guys are in good shape. But for the rest of you guys, you should determine what resolution you are using with your photographs now and take the necessary steps to bring them up to the minimum if they aren't already. Obviously, you know, us here at TruPlace, we'd be happy to help you with this, but at the very least, your current photographer should be able to get you guys up to speed and obviously be made aware of these new photo size requirements. So that kind of is what we wanted to bring to you guys today, and we have some time to answer your questions. So, Jamie, if you want to field those questions, that would be great.
Yeah, we have one question so far, so feel free to type in any questions that you have into your question box, and we'll try to answer them for you. We do have one question from Jeff. How does TruPlace work on a touchscreen device that doesn't allow hover over?
I don't know what I mean by hover over, but basically, you know, we're responsive with every device out there, whether it's a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. And so if you're able to touch that screen where the photo descriptions are in the floor plan, those photos will instantly appear. So we don't really have an issue with that. But I think what he meant was, like, if we were no mouse to hover, so how does it work on a tablet or a smartphone? You simply touch the area of the floor plan and it opens the photo for that particular area of the home. Good question. We've still got a couple minutes, guys, so please feel free to ask anything. I do want to remind you guys that, you know, this has been recorded, and that we will send a copy of that to you guys. Jamie will be sure to email that out to all the attendees that are on here.
I have another question here. Could you talk a little bit about how to reconcile growing image sizes with the storage hosting capacity of various softwares?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And you know, when all of this started to come to light towards the end of last year with these photo size minimums now by these distribution channels, it became aware to us from our clients that some of the softwares that are out there, the reservation softwares that are out there, are not able to house that particular size of photo. So what we've done in the past is we've been able to, if you work with you know, a website company like ICND or Blizzard or VDS or Blue Tent, we have partnerships with all of those guys, and we're actually able to set up a way that you guys can utilize those photos on your websites. Now, actually storing them inside of your reservation software, that won't happen until your particular software vendor increases that size capability. So that was a very good question. And we're aware of, I think right now there's 3 companies that we have mutual clients with the software vendors, and 2 of the 3 we know are working to increase their photo storage size capability. So that was a great question.
Okay, and I have another one here from Kathy. She'd like to know how to enhance their TruPlace photos that they've gotten taken in the past to add blue sky.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Kathy, and what I would recommend is to have one of our client advocates reach out to you to discuss that offline. So it's a possibility. I know that there's just some information and gather from you to make sure that we're able to do that. So we'll make note of that, Kathy, and have someone reach out to you shortly. Thank you. Any more questions, guys? Okay, well, really thank you guys for attending today, and again, just to remind you that Jamie will forward you guys a copy of the recorded presentation today that you can share with the rest of your team, and you can feel free to reach out to us with additional questions at solutions@truplace.com, and we will get back to you with the answers just as soon as we possibly can. I thank everyone again for their time, and have a great afternoon, guys. Bye-bye.